Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine Bowl Game Special. We're presented by the Navy Federal Credit Union, Navy Mutual, and the Military Star Card. Navy taking on the Oklahoma Sooners down in Fort Worth, Texas, Friday, December 27th in the Armed Forces Bowl. Who is patrolling the sideline on Friday? She's a powerhouse. She's a hard worker, a Texas native, very familiar with Navy football. In fact, she gets bonus points for covering a lot of Navy's Olympic sports many moons ago. And if you met her 10 years ago, you would not be surprised. She is working the sideline as a reporter on a national broadcast. It's ESPN's Morgan Uber. And Morgan, how much are you anticipating this Navy OU game coming up Friday?
Gosh, Luke, first off, what an introduction. Thank you so much for having me and asking me to be on. And what a dream scenario for me to be working the Armed Forces Bowl right in my backyard, born and raised in Dallas, Texas, live here now. But, this matchup, one that means so much to me. I mean, Navy athletics has been, like you mentioned, a part of my life since 2016. And, there's so many people within Navy athletics that have helped me get to where I am today. So it's a pretty cool full circle moment. I also have, family ties to the Oklahoma Sooners, although, I am a reporter. We are neutral, but definitely two teams that have meant a lot to me. So it should be a fun one. And I expect it to be, a competitive game. I mean, Navy football coming off of one of their best seasons in a long time, a lot of momentum, the Commanders in Chief Trophy back in Annapolis. And one of my favorite towns in the United States, in Annapolis, Maryland. So definitely should be a great game and cannot wait to be a part of that one.
We were just talking about some of your work with the Patriot League starting in 2016. You covered all those sports in the Mid Atlantic region. What was your favorite moment covering Navy in that time?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to narrow it down to one. I think, I started with the Patriot League in 2016. My primary role there, I was a feature reporter and producer. It was just me and MMJ, a one-woman band going around with my, two to sometimes three cameras set up. And I think every time I left the Naval Academy, I just felt inspired telling the stories, of these student athletes, so much of what they were doing, on the field and successful in their respective sports. Spent a lot of time around the men's and women's basketball teams, men's and women's lacrosse teams, the soccer programs, and just some of the things that they were even doing, to give back within the community when they were at home. There was one project we had the opportunity to work on. We got to go spend 72 hours in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was a leadership seminar where the captains of all the teams were there. And to be in a room with that type of leadership, right? Just the selfless acts of these young men and women who at the time weren't much younger than me. I was, 24, 25 years old. And I think that's one that really stands out. We did a 7-part series, a mini documentary on just talking about, all the different leadership lessons that they learned. And these were all seniors, ready to going into their senior year, their final year at the Naval Academy, and getting ready to, be commissioned to go be a part of something much bigger than themselves. So yeah, I really just took away, when I was having a hard day, I would just think about, the mids there on campus and on the yard, all the things, the grueling classwork and athletic different practices that they went through. But an all around incredible experience. It's hard to narrow down just one important project.
You talk about the grueling stress and hard work of running around, and you live that life now, Morgan. You've been on planes all week. What have you been covering and been up to just as a national reporter now for ESPN?
So really a really special postseason for me, getting to be a part of 5 different postseason games from bowls to national championships. I kicked off my postseason. I was actually up in Bozeman, Montana last Friday, 25 degrees, but Montana State fans, there was no atmosphere really like that, for a quarterfinal matchup. Then headed to New Orleans to cover a bowl, the R+L Carriers Bowl, and then a quick turnaround on Saturday, was able to cover the Division II national championship and handed out, a national champion trophy to Ferris State. So Those are special moments. These students who, dream about these moments. Anytime you get to be a part of something like that, and give the voice to those student athletes, those coaches, and let them have that platform. We've experienced some really emotional moments over the last 72 hours with Sam Houston getting their first full win and Ferris State getting a national championship. So, hopefully we have more of that continue on with another great game, coming up here very soon between Oklahoma and Navy.
On that bowl game, you've got a strong Texas connection just being from the area, your connections to Big 12 country and working for the conference before OU left. What makes football so special in that Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex?
I think it's just really, I mean, Friday Night Lights. If you've seen the show or the movie, it's as real as it gets. Just everyone loves their football. Everyone loves their high school football, their college football, and of course, around here it's the Dallas Cowboys. But it's the pride I think that people take in their teams. Like, you'll be going to the grocery store and it's people wearing their college colors. You see it on the back of license plates. Working at the Big 12, I was there, before all of the realignment, like you mentioned, and then moved on over across the street to the American Athletic Conference and was there for 3 years. So I think it's just really become almost a mecca of sports in a way. You have the CFP who's headquartered here, the National Football Foundation also headquartered, right next to where the American Athletic Conference is over in Las Colinas. So, people are passionate down here about their football, and it's really all people know and all people do. And we just had the Texas State Championships at AT&T Stadium. The fact that those young high school kids, get to play in a big stadium like that, it is as big of a deal as it sounds and looks like on TV, let me tell you.
It's an incredibly big deal. And you mentioned your time at the American, 3 great years, and you did some sideline reporting and work during that as well on the national broadcasts. How does your experience with Navy in particular shape your approach to this game?
Yeah, so when I was at the American, I had the opportunity to sideline my very first Navy football game at Charlotte. And I'll never forget, it was like in the fall of dating back to 2017 when I was there in the fall, covering men's and women's soccer. I'd be, walking up and down and I'd see CBS having their football meetings in Scott Strauss-Meyer's offices. And I will never forget, like I would think to myself in those moments, I'm going to be one of those people that have the opportunity to cover Navy football one day. And, last year it was a game on ESPN Plus, but it was still so surreal. It was something that I told myself I was going to do. And then, standing there waiting for Coach Newberry, watching the team run out, carry that American flag, it was sort of one of those pinch me moments, right? And definitely a part of a bucket list experience for me. And then now to be able to cover a Navy team on national TV, I think it's taking that, one step further. But again, just these young men that when I was at the American, I've seen, these guys grow up and come through during their time at Navy. Some of them were freshmen when I started covering them. So again, it's been a really full circle story for me, covering Navy athletics for the past 8 years and then now getting to do it on national TV for ESPN. And also just to add, like, I had the opportunity to go to my very first Army Navy game back in 2017, and I brought my dad to that game. And when you talk about environments and experiences that will always be at the top of my list, not just in sports, but really in life, of just being something so much, you're around all these people. Again, it goes back to just being inspired, an environment like no other. I mean, I've covered a World Series, I've been at NBA championships. There's nothing that compares to the Army Navy game. So I think it's really cool the fact that Navy, having just come off winning that game, a game where many people on the outside doubted that team, with the way that Army had been playing this season, winning an American Conference championship, the momentum that Navy has right now, and just the positive talk about this program. There's no better time in my mind to be covering a Navy football game right now. So pretty cool.
Tapped into some storylines there. I'm glad you've been keeping up as well this year. That's awesome, Morgan. I didn't know that was your first sideline game. You could not tell. You crushed it. Your career kind of reads like a dream career. If you look at your resume, Patriot League, Big 12, American, now the worldwide leader. Which habits were instrumental in making you the best reporter that you could be?
First and foremost, it's relationships, the relationship piece. And that was something that, as you know, Luke, like our Mizzou Mafia, our Mizzou ties, I think that was something that was stressed right away. It was something ingrained in me, even, long before then. But the relationship piece in building trust with people, I think the best reporters, and I take a lot of pride in, just being able to, the first time I meet someone, finding that instant connection. There's always, there really is some way, right? You can connect with people. The 6, 7 degrees of separation, it's way smaller than that, in my opinion. So I think in relationships are really what stemmed for me to get to where I am now, right? The relationships that I've had with Scott Strassmeyer, with Stacy Mashad, those are two pivotal people, I think, in my life that helped, steer my career and, helped introduce me to some of the right people at the American Athletic Conference. And then ultimately, the American able to, help boost my career and be able to get me to work at ESPN. So, relationships first and foremost. And then at the end of the day, just, realizing we're storytellers. And I think that that's something that I've always loved. That's something that I've always been a curious person and have asked a lot of questions. And so I think just tying into all of those things that really make me who I am have helped, that's just what I do in terms of my reporting.
6 months in, what's been the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, I think, just working with different people, different personalities. I'm someone that I'm very easy to adapt, right? But I think, just seeing how different producers work, different play-by-play, different analysts, and just helping make my role as seamless as possible. Whoever I'm working with, just, making things as easy for them as possible. I think that the travel has been so much fun, but it's also, going from different time zones. Some weeks I'm on the West Coast and then it's a quick turnaround to the East Coast, and just getting used to, the lack of sleep, and sometimes just, having to prepare on the go, on the fly. On planes, trains, automobiles, taking advantage of every second that I get. I find myself, sometimes even when I'm trying to squeeze in that 30-minute workout, it's, time management, listening to a coach's press conference, preparing for my coach's meetings, and just being able to manage the schedule has been challenging, but also a lot of fun. And you just never know, right? What you're going to get in game. You can prepare for all the storylines and all the different scenarios, but at the end of the day, it's live television, it's live sports, and we have no idea what's going to happen. So again, it goes back to just being able to adapt and being ready for that moment.
Looking forward to this week, kickoff on Friday. How do you prepare? What does that process look like for a game like this?
So the best part of preparing for games for me is actually getting to talk to the student athletes. So, working through the SIDs and the PR folks at the respective universities to set up phone calls, Zoom meetings with the players. We'll have coaches meetings. Normally when it's a regular season game, we would do visiting team over Zoom. And then the day before the game, we're meeting with the home team in person, the head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. But even then, before we get to that point, it's reading as many articles as I can throughout the week, hopping on sometimes the phone with high school coaches or players' parents, and just finding those unique storylines that either A, haven't been told before, or B, looking at how you move them forward. And I think, these bowl games are a celebration of student athletes. So, while a regular season approach, it's a little bit different. I think the bowl games, we truly want to highlight the stories of these kids. So, a young man like Dabo Fofana having the opportunity to be able to, go to medical school, with as strenuous of a process and selective as that is, and Daba meaning hard worker. It's so impressive what he's been able to do. I look forward to having the opportunity to share his story on a national stage. And so many, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to narrow down, I think, the Navy stories that are going to be told, because as a sideline reporter, for people that watch college football know, we're only, able to be a part of the game in so many situations, whether we bring it out of a break. So it's, emphasizing and sort of highlighting, prioritizing my top 5 stories per team, I think, coming into a game like this. And, sharing that with my play-by-play, really working collaboratively with my team and getting the right visuals to be able to, present those to an audience on TV. So there's a lot behind the scenes that happens leading up to the big game, and just doing our job to be able to tell those great stories to a national audience.
No one we'd rather have tell those stories than you, Morgan Uber. Thank you so much for the time today. See you Friday.
Luke, looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
For the third time, Navy football will schlep on down to Fort Worth, Texas for the Armed Forces Bowl. Pleased to be joined by the executive director of the Armed Forces Bowl, plays a critical role in ESPN events, Brant Ringler. Brant, I know you've been involved with this bowl game pretty much since its inception. How did this thing get started?
Well, thank you for having me on, Luke. In 2003, we worked with the city leaders here to start this game. It was started as the Fort Worth Bowl, and we did that for 3 years. And after 3 years, the executive director at the time, Tom Starr, which is a Vietnam veteran, we discussed the opportunities. Hey, how can we take this game to another level? And we both came up with and discussed having a tribute to the armed forces, the military, and he got that approved internally from ESPN Events, which owns and operates us. And then a week later, Bell Helicopter came on as our title sponsor, and we haven't looked back. We had Bell Helicopter for 8 years, and now we're have Lockheed Martin stepped up after them, and they've been our partner last 11 years.
Over the course of 2 decades, how have you seen the opportunities to honor the military grow and expand?
I think we were very fortunate when we started this game. We it was after 9/11. It's been 5 or 6 years, and we really rode the wave of patriotism. And I think that really gave us a solid footing for our game. And over the years, I think the fans just appreciate what we do for the veterans throughout our game. It's not just lip service. A lot of sports entities, might have, bring a service member out here and there and just do one little thing during the game. Well, there isn't a down moment in our game when the game is not going on, that we're not paying tribute to our military in some form or fashion. So I think they appreciate that, and that's why they keep coming back.
To be on the ground level of this operation and to make these moments happen, what does it mean to you to continue to honor our nation's military?
Well, this is my give back. If you can see over my bald head, you can see my father's flag. He served in the Army. My brother was a Marine. I looked at going to academies, but I had bad eyes. I wanted to be a pilot. Just didn't work out for me. So I went the sports route, and I've fallen into this role. And I feel very fortunate. It is my give back in different way to say thank you for all those that have served. I love our military and what they do for our country. It's so selfless. They're there to serve others, and they put others before themselves. And there's not a lot of people in this world that seem to do that anymore. And so when we can do something for these men and women that have served our country, I think we should put our best foot forward and give it all we can.
This game has hosted Navy twice before. You're familiar with the decision makers up in Annapolis and the administration up here. What do you like about having a service academy play down in Texas?
We love it. We try to have an academy every year if we can. We have no guarantees in making that happen, but we've done it 14 of the last 18 years now. It just adds to what we are doing at our game already. If we don't have an academy, everything's still going to occur as well. But obviously, academies bring additional veterans, different people that we can say thank you to as well because they went to that academy or they have an affiliation with that academy in some way. And Navy has always been fantastic. The 2 years we've had them always brought a lot of people. And it's been about 8 years since we've had them, and we're glad they're back in the fold. We're glad they're back in the bold world. Coach Newberry has done a fantastic job. Chet and his front office team have got the right person in there and the right staff, and so we look forward to everybody coming down here. We were excited to see after they knocked off Army in a dominant fashion. That it's going to really pit a great Navy team up against a good, solid OU team. Our ticket sales are, we're nearing a sellout. And I think that's a large part of that is how Navy played this past weekend. I mean, they immediately came back to us and said, hey, we've sold out all our allotment of tickets. So there's a lot of fan excitement around this game, and we look forward to seeing it all unfold on December 27th.
You just earned brownie points with me mentioning that Army game, which was something else entirely. Um, Anticipating a sellout, and Navy fans travel well. They have on the road all year, and OU fans, I'm sure we're familiar as well in that region in particular, do a great job traveling Big 12 SEC country as well. What do you make of this matchup and its impact that it has on the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex?
Well, as far as the Metroplex, having OU in the game really helps because there's a lot, DFW is probably their number one alumni group just in this area. And they've turned out, they went through their allotment in 30 minutes. And then they turned them all on us, and they've just been buying up everything. All our suites are gone. All our club sections are gone. Everything is, basically gone. And we're just, finalizing these final seats that we have left. But it's been great to have them in the game. I think the game overall is very balanced. Unfortunately, OU has about 20 people, I think, in the portal or something. They lost their quarterback and stuff. So I don't know what team we're going to get. Is it going to be a team that was like when they played Alabama, or is it going to be a team that it's going to be a completely new team? So I don't know what we're going to get. I'm sure Navy doesn't know exactly what they're going to get to play against. And it's probably hard for a coach to figure out the schemes and things like that. Maybe the schemes stay the same, but having different players in there might make it a little bit different for Army to figure out what OU is going to be bringing to the table. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup overall, and something that on ESPN. I think ESPN is proud to have that game on because it's going to bring some viewerships.
I've covered this game once before. You have a beautiful venue at Amon G. Carter Stadium down there in Fort Worth. Seats about 45,000 people. We're hearing a lot of hype around the game day activities, specifically, our tailgate scene. But just what are you excited the most about in the anticipation and lead up to a game like this? We've mentioned the two brands, but specifically game day activities. What lights your fire?
Well, all the elements really light my fire because the football game aside, I love the aspect of saying thank you to our military in so many different ways, whether it's a home giveaway or a car giveaway. We have over 100 Purple Heart recipients that we honor. We have over 100 recruits that'll be inducted into the military on the field. We have our Great American Patriot Award, which is the CNO Admiral Lisa Franchetti, which, by the way, that was selected way before we even knew who was going to be in our game. And some things just all work out, right? Our national anthem singer, we had it set before we knew we had OU, and it's Toby Keith's daughter, Crystal Keith will be singing our national anthem. So some things are meant to be by fate. But, I obviously love the flyover, the pageantry. Lockheed Martin, we have 4 F-35s. They make those. We have an all-veteran jump team. They're jumping out of a helicopter of all things this year that everybody can see. Our fan fest, we have a pregame concert with the Panther City All Stars, which is made up of all-star musicians from different bands in the city of Fort Worth. So it really shows Fort Worth's music scene off. All the various military equipment that's on display for our fans to enjoy. We have Veterans Village. So we have over 40 military nonprofits within Veterans Village that are there to help veterans. When a veteran comes to our game, they might have an issue that we do not know about. But if they connect with any one of those organizations and get help or assistance in some way, we never know it, but we've done our job. And so those things like that excite me. And just seeing the fanfare that's going on, Oklahoma's going to have a huge tailgate as well. Navy always brings it with their tailgate. I still remember the giant tents that they had 8 years ago and stuff. So I just think it's going to be a great day. And I'm really excited about the weather because the weather report looks fantastic because I was here 2 years ago, obviously, and it was the second coldest game in any bowl game's history. And we try to avoid that if we can.
Well, we're praying for good weather, but everything you just mentioned is stellar, and it's a great mission and work that you do giving back. December 27th, Brant Ringler, I'll see you there. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it.